Thank you. Hello and welcome everyone back. Thank you for your patience. We were just had a little pause. We were switching to our PM YouTube stream. So the last item on the agenda for the morning slot, we're dealing with item 11 now that was held because we had a list of speakers. So item 11 is 27 Milroy Crescent. And we have a list of speakers. I'm just going to do a name call just so that everybody can take their place and be prepared to speak. So the registered speakers, we have Lawrence Jackson, Scott Milligan, John Dawson and Joyce Logan, Juliana and Frank Brentz, and Dr. Doreen Ablack. So I've just listed out the names. So all of you, those who are listening, please take your place and be prepared to speak at your turn. I'm going to start with the owner, Danielle Froment. Hello, Danielle.
Yes, I'm the owner. You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So Danielle, would you be speaking or would your architectural designer, Louise, be speaking?
Louise would be speaking.
Okay, all right. I'm going to then request to have Louise Yang, please, so that we can discuss the application. Louise, you're with us?
Yeah, hi, Madam Chair.
Hi, Louise. So we have your application before us for 27 Milroy Crescent, and we have two variances for it. So would you like to make a presentation, or would you like to dive right into the questions?
I'm going to make a short presentation for this one.
Okay, so you have 5 minutes. Your time starts now.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Louise. I'm the architecture designer from KCC Architect. I'm presenting for 27 Milroy Crescent today. So we are proposing a multi-level deck, which the higher level is on the same level with the main floor. And the edge of the deck is aligned with the sides of the existing main building. So we have two variants. One is for the deck height. We propose to raise the maximum height from 1.2 meter to 2 meter, which is the same level with the main floor height. Another one is the east side yard setback. So we propose to reduce the minimum setback from 2 meter to 1.28 meter, which is the same with the existing building side yard setback. So that's all for my presentation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. That was nice and brief. Members of the committee, any questions for Louise? Okay, I see none. We'll have our first neighbor, Lawrence Jackson. Okay, Lawrence, you're with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay, you have 5 minutes and your time starts now.
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair and respected committee members. I just quickly introduce myself. I'm Lawrence Jackson and my wife's name is Nancy. We've resided at 100 Glenthorne Drive for over 37 years. And this project is directly behind our property. Our rear yard is 50 feet wide and the applicant's yard is 85 feet wide. In March, when they started digging at this property to do this vast project and how close it was to our property, I contacted the building department and asked if 27 Milroy had a permit for work taking place in their backyard and for the removal of a large mature tree that they had removed. I also inquired about a plan for grading and drainage, as this property and house are significantly higher than ours. So this house is raised out of the ground. So at the rear level, it's 3 stories. Almost. So on March the 25th, after I contacted the building department on the 20.
So sorry for interrupting you, Lawrence. I really apologize to do that, but I'm not sure what's the purpose of this background. I mean, we're looking at these two variances that are before us that pertain fundamentally to the platforms on the building. I'm not sure why we need to have this background information on permits and what was happening.
All right. Well, I think it's a little bit of history, and it should be noted that I've seen many decks built around trees, And this was a major tree to our privacy. But anyways, if that's not a concern, I believe it was done without permits. And when I look at the application form for the permits, that they went ahead and built this deck with no permits to start with. So the deck's there, right? And it's way larger than it should be, and it's way higher. And it pushes into the rear yard that these lots are small city lots. It's not like you're living in Rosedale or they're not large lots. And I think this platform being built so high and pushed so close to the residents, and I'm not the only one involved in this. There's 5 neighbors here, and we're the most impacted. That's the problem with this too. We're the 5 most impacted neighbors. And 102, 101, 98, 96, and 94, we're all retired citizens, and we've all been here for a great length of time, and our privacy is being stripped away from us. Now, if there was any reason at all, like if this applicant was handicapped and he couldn't go down a few stairs to the proper deck height, that would be taken into consideration. But what this is this is trying to build an oversized deck, and it just shouldn't be allowed. It's too high. It takes away from our privacy. And the fact that it doesn't comply to the bylaws, but the bylaws were not even considered. So I don't know. And to do that, they signed a tree declaration saying that no trees were involved. So I don't know. It's frustrating. Like I said, you lived here for 37 years. We just thought we were going to get into our golden years and be able to relax. and now we're subject to a neighbor that's going to be peering down on us and has no permits. And there was even a stop work order placed on this.
Okay. All right.
And like I said, let me just reiterate though too. I contacted the building department on March the 24th. We got a notice on December 21, a few days before Christmas. Then we had to respond to this by now. And it really doesn't fair to the neighbors over here.
No, I
Now,
hear
and
you,
just another
Lawrence.
thing-
I hear you, Lawrence,
Okay,
and
I'm
your
sorry.
disappointment and frustration. But unfortunately, this committee can't help you with those concerns. We're here. Our mandate is to look at the application, look at the 2 variances or the variances before us, and make a decision. Permits were obtained or not obtained. That's something that I really can't help you with.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but unfortunately, I'm not
but
going to be
here-
able to help you.
Okay, I'm just going to talk one more thing then about this deck then. And to
Okay,
the
well,
variances.
your
It goes-
time's up, so I'll give you another 10 seconds to wrap up. Please go ahead.
Okay, just that this deck goes from wall to wall on the building. And it doesn't meet the variances. And just let me say in closing, that if it was built to the conforming bylaws, we'd have no issue. Like the bylaws are there. And I would even be more lenient if they had approached us with permits and asked for a variance.
Correct. No, I agree with you 100%. It's like a building and then asking for forgiveness case, which is, I understand it's not always best, but the bylaws, and this is why they're here with us today, is because they are seeking the variances for for that deck. So we're certainly considering those bylaws and seeing this request in the light of those bylaws. Okay?
Okay.
All right,
And
thank you very
very
much.
much for your time.
No.
And I'm sorry I got so excited.
And that's okay, no problem, Lawrence. You certainly, I'm very happy you took the time and to speak with us. Appreciate that.
Okay, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks. Scott Milligan is our next neighbor, speaker.
Yep, I'm right here.
Perfect, Scott. So, Scott, you have 5 minutes. Please go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm a neighbor of Dan's. I'm 21 Milroy, so I'm on the same street as the, I guess, Dan's place. And I just wanted to point out that his deck, basically, that he's added onto here is basically just replacing the deck that was there before. And there's another side. I mean, the whole thing of this being kind of blowing it out of proportion. He's added 43 some odd trees to his backyard. And this sort of creates a very nice security or privacy against your neighbors on either sides. So it's just one of those things I wanted to pipe in and mention that. And I hope that some reasoning comes of this, as it's quite a logical development.
Okay,
That's
so,
really all I have to say.
okay, so you have no concerns, rather you're supporting it and then you're suggesting that this is an improvement.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you, Scott, for being such a great neighbor and coming out to speak and support. Okay, we'll go to our next speaker, John Dawson and Joyce Logan. All right, thank you, Eric. John, you're with us? Or Joyce?
Through the chair, we have a member, John Dawson, signed in, and he is unmuted and connected via headset.
Okay, so John, you're unmuted at our end. We can see it's all good connection. John Dawson. He's muted himself? Okay. Are you there, John Dawson?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, certainly. Thank you, sir.
Oh, really? Oh, good. Okay, we played with a big button on the bottom, and I guess I finally got it right. Good afternoon, Madam Chairman and committee members. I won't say can you hear me, because you can. Thank you very much for listening to our concerns. Some time ago, my wife and I decided to add a sunroom on the rear of our property, just very close. We naturally applied for a permit. Since being a professional engineer, we do things legally. What a concept. We were told that the structure had to be a certain distance off the rear property line. That meant shrinking the structure considerably, much to our dismay. Naturally, we did as the bylaw office instructed. Now we have a much smaller but legal structure. Apparently, what we should have done is we should have ignored the building department entirely, simply started construction without a permit. That way we could get the structure nearly finished before we finally request a permit. Then we could get our way by simply requesting a variance and automatically assuming it would receive approval. Is this what people do now to circumvent building bylaws? In our case, it did not affect anyone very much since we have a brick wall behind our house. But in the case of MILROY, the effect on the neighbors is way more detrimental. The architect's plans completely disregard every existing bylaw. If the height of 2 meters or 6 feet 6 is allowed, the structure will be way too high, as it will tower over and look into the neighboring backyards on Glenthorne. This drastically infringes on the use of neighboring pools and rear yards. It results in extreme loss of privacy. In fact, the upper deck will look right down into the neighbor's windows. Due to the difference in land height, they're already closing the curtains already because of this guy. The height should be maintained at the legal limit of 1.2 meters. There's no need to allow the applicant to walk out from a second-story door directly onto the deck unless he's in a wheelchair. They can simply have a staircase down to it at the proper height, like other people do. Also, if the deck extends 3 meters or 12 foot 6 into the rear yard, this only exacerbates the height differential and makes it even easier to lose privacy, as MILROY late-night parties will look right down into the neighbor's windows. The setback should be maintained at the legal limit of 2.5 meters so as to not infringe on the neighbor's use of rear yards. There's also no reason to allow the deck to encroach within 1.2 meters of the property line east. This setback should be maintained at the legal limit of 2.1. I suspect the maximum area percent lot coverage bylaw is also being exceeded with this proposal, but the city has not provided this, so I don't know if we're over the 30% limit or what. Probably. There's no reason to allow any of these major, not minor, major variances simply because the owner has flagrantly disregarded the building bylaws and proceeded without a permit. These variances are twice what the bylaw allows. There's no way we would have ever dreamed of putting a shovel in the ground before we got a permit. So why let extreme violators off the hook and simply allow them to do what they want? Illegal tree removal, which happened, should not be rewarded with an illegal deck. We also have read Dave Adamson's letter of December, and Dave is a very nice man whom I know personally and have very much respect for from the Legion, where I volunteer to do lighting repairs. However, we strongly disagree with his statement that the adjacent neighbors have no concerns. This is completely false. Obviously, he did not talk to all the neighbors, especially the ones on Glenthorne who would be most impacted by this unauthorized construction. I suspect the ones on Milroy, though, may regret their decision when they start experiencing the late night loud parties on the huge deck. More deck means more people. More people means louder noise. Louder voices means turn up the music. All this disturbs the neighbors, and Larry can't even watch his TV in his room because of all the bloody noise. Please do not approve these proposed major variances. Please instruct the applicant to stop work, have his architect revise the drawings to conform to all existing bylaws, and subsequently modify the structure accordingly, as I'm sure you would have told me to do if I had started construction illegally without a permit. There's nothing unusual about removing illegal structures. It happens all the time. We talked to a lady the other day. She said the deck across the road from her was removed. Make the applicants adhere to all the existing bylaws, just like the rest of us have to. We would certainly not want to see any of our neighbors forced to sell their house now and move due to the city allowing this individual to run ramshod over their privacy. That would be an absolutely disastrous result of your decision. So please make the right decision to protect the innocent neighbors, enforce the existing bylaws. That's what they're there for God's sakes. But if this structure were built properly, according to all existing bylaws, guess what? We would have no objection. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much for your time and your comments. To your point, yes, that's absolutely disappointing that people build these structures, sometimes without knowledge and sometimes with full knowledge that they need permits. And then we end up in situations like this. It's not that's not a good practice to do, but sometimes things happen. But for us as committee, we always have to consider applications or proposals as if nothing has been built. So there's nothing existing, it's all from scratch. It's a blank canvas for us, for all intents and purposes. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. And I'm going to go to our next speaker, Juliana and Frank.
You're out of time.
Juliana?
No, Juliana won't be speaking today. It's Frank.
All right.
Madam Chair.
All right, Frank, please go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My only question is that the variation in the height of the deck because of the land, the situation of the difference in height. I've been here since 1986, and this is the first time I had anything to do with zoning bylaw changes or variants in the neighborhood. I know people have done improvements in their backyards, but it appears that they were all done within the bylaw. So there was no need for this variation. And I see that 80 centimeters of height difference, it would raise it about the level of the fence level or even be able to see into the second floor of the building behind it. That's the only comment I have, the height, and I don't know what it would take to live within the bylaw, making changes to the deck. Just an observation, I looked at the pictures that are on the website, and the hot tub is on a raised platform, and I was just wondering what would happen if that ever collapsed. What would happen to the neighbor? Or not me, I'm just about 200 feet away. So that is all for me, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Yes, I don't know what will happen if the tub does collapse there. We can certainly ask the applicant or the owner. Next on the list, Dr. Doreen Black.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Dr. Doreen.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Thank you very much for allowing me to come and speak to this committee. I have been a long-time neighbour too. I'm a senior, retired, and I've been living on Glenthorne Drive with my other two neighbours, Lawrence and Frank, for 20 plus years. And as my good neighbour was just saying, the last speaker, we haven't ever had any issues like this at all. It's a very quiet, very neighbourly area, and we all get on extremely well together, and we hope to continue to do that. I'd just like to point out to the members that the house on MILROY is higher to begin with. It's at a higher level. All that development at the back behind us, we're on Glenthorne, MILROY is behind us, is high. So already my neighbor can look into my bedroom, have a very good neighbor, but he's got that capability to look into my bedroom already. And I'm not directly behind that house. I'm at the side there. Lawrence Jackson is directly behind him. Now, with the additional height, which is the architect's advising, it doesn't conform to existing bylaws. And with that extra height, as has already been said by my colleagues, they will be looking directly into the neighbor's windows. Privacy is gone. And I think this is totally unacceptable. So this is why I felt like taking the time to come and support our neighbors on this issue. I think it's really not acceptable. So that I corroborate all they have been saying, and that's really all I have to say as well. So thank you very much for this opportunity to speak out.
Thank you, Dr. Doreen. Appreciate the time you took to speak with us, and we've certainly heard your concerns, and the applicant and the owner are also here, so they are going to now respond to the concerns that have been raised. So now I'm going to go back to Louise Yang.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so Louise, you heard the comments and concerns raised by the neighbors. How would you like to respond to them?
Okay, so our response according to different questions. So the first one, I want to say the proposed deck is a multi-level deck, which means like half of the deck is lower than another one. So the one we are applying for variance is just half of the deck. So it's like not a full area from left side to right side.
Can
So
we have
that
which
part-
elevation? Sorry, do you mind telling us which elevation drawing would show that? There's few elevations
yeah.
in. So we have
Okay,
A2.3, A2.4, A2.5. Which one do you think would help us?
Okay, you can see this one, the 3D model one.
The 3D, okay, the rendering, okay.
Yeah, so you can see the left side, we have a higher level. So only that part we apply for variance because we want the deck to be the same level with the main floor.
So which part did you say?
The left part.
The left part, okay. That part, okay. That's the one that's subject to the variance?
Yeah, so as well as the minimum setback. So we apply to reduce the setback from 2 meter to 1.28 meter. That's for the left side. Okay, so the owner tried to give more privacy for the neighbor. And so that's why we did a multi-level deck. And also, the owner spent over $7,500 on the backyard gardening with planting numerous trees to provide a better privacy for the neighbors. So we actually will upload a document, which is a Beautiful Garden Award from Scarborough Roach Park community. So after 1 year, 2 years, so the trees getting higher, I believe neighbors cannot see the deck, even the building at all. Okay, so that's the answer to the privacy. And we also have another question for the permit. So response to no permit, the client, our owner is ignorance to the building permit because he thought replacing the same size deck does not require a permit. However, now it is not, he is still very sorry about that.
Okay, so he had a different understanding that an existing deck, a redoing of an existing deck does not require a permit. That was his understanding.
Yeah, so he misunderstands that part. It doesn't mean he do this in case in like intents.
Okay. So it wasn't
Yeah.
intentional.
Okay. Yeah. So we do got some supporting letters from our adjacent neighbor. So actually, the one I mentioned, the two variants for the higher level deck. The neighbor beside it, the deck, he gave us a supporting letter, which we also uploaded into your system.
Okay, can I ask you a question? A couple of times comments were made that this property sits higher than the properties on Glenthorne. Could you comment on that?
So we do get a permit long time ago for the building. That part,
No,
I
No, I'm asking about the grade of the property. Is this property at a higher grade than the rest of the properties on Glenthorne? Is this property higher? Not the deck.
yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
So the grade of the property is higher than the grades of the properties on Glenthorne. And then and then the decks are being added and they're further raised. So that was a concern that was raised by the neighbors as well.
Yeah, so that's why the owner planted a large amount of trees to protect the privacy.
Okay, and the trees have already been planted?
Yes, it's already planted. We actually have a picture for the whole property, but we cannot upload. Maybe it's expired.
Okay.
But yeah, we have the picture.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Members of the committee, any questions for Louise? Okay, Member Macaulay.
Thank you. A couple of questions. I'm a little confused. The whole deck, if the applicant can confirm that everything is built.
We built a structure.
So you've built the decks.
The structures.
But now we stop.
Okay, so the decks are completely built.
No, they're not, Member Macaulay. The structure has been built. If you look at the package, and in one of the opposition packages, the letters, there's pictures of, and I would say page 554 of the PDF, there's pictures of the structures of the decks that have been formed or erected.
Okay, so all right, so we've got the base erected, but not the decks completed. All right. Secondly, I saw in the package that you had planted some trees, but to me those look very low. How tall are the trees that you're planted?
I believe the owner can answer the question because he purchased the trees.
Sure. Can we have the owner, Daniel Froment?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. I'm listening.
Okay.
I planted 43 trees. The shortest tree, it would be about 7 feet, and I got some that are 12 feet. And I planted 43 trees, 30 hydrangeas, and 19 roses. So I put it pretty much all around the property. I even put some Serbian spruce. So some of those trees will grow in a few years, and they'll come up to 20 to 30 feet tall. So in a few years, my neighbors won't even see my deck, even less seeing my house.
Okay, thank you for that, because we can have a tree that's 2 feet tall, or we can have a tree that's 20 feet tall.
Yeah, the shortest one is 7 feet, is about 7 feet. I got a combination of cedars from Serbian spruce to pine columnars, crabapple trees, and so on.
Okay. Another question I have is on the previous drawings, you're showing that the deck is totally enclosed, totally screened in. Is that your intent?
No,
Oh,
I'm sorry, what do you mean enclosed?
That you're having screening on the deck from?
No. I'll just have a railing around it and I'll skirt around the deck, of course, to close that. But I know there's no screening. No, there's no roof, there's no screening, there's no nothing. No.
It's just
No.
it's
Okay,
just a railing around.
It's
Yeah.
just a railing around it. That's it.
I was concerned that well, one of the issues we've dealt with on other applications where there looks to be an intrusion in privacy, to request that the decks be screened so that that privacy is maintained. And that's the reason for my question as to whether you were intending on providing a privacy screen around the decks.
I planted the 43 trees to address that.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's all my questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Member Macaulay. Okay. Any more questions? Okay. All right. I see none. All right. Thank you very much. Just going back to Louise, any or Danielle, any closing remarks in 10 seconds before we take the matter into committee?
I think I answered all questions,
Okay. All right.
so I don't want, yeah.
No further comments then. Okay, perfect. All right, I take the matter into committee now. Members of the committee, we had a good hearing. We heard the residents, we heard the owner. The construction of the decks is underway. It has been stopped for now. So what are your, any comments, or are you prepared for a motion? There's all been attempt made to, plant trees and for long-term privacy. Decks are permitted, right? It's not like decks are not permitted. It's just the height of the deck. That's the question here, or the level. So in terms of privacy, having decks or platforms, privacy is always a concern. Having a higher deck, maybe it could exacerbate the situation, but the owner has planted trees around, and I did see the pictures. It's a combination of trees, and it includes evergreens or coniferous trees, which means there will be screening all year round, and they're not deciduous trees where leaves may shed. So there's an effort for year-round privacy or screening done in that regards. So the first variance is for the proposed deck floor, which is 2.01 meters above the ground, whereas the bylaw requires 1.2 meters. And then the second variance is, it's the same one, just has to do with the height. Okay, so any comments, any concerns? Member Said?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a comments on that. Yes, the structure has been built without approval, and the construction, as you said, has been stopped. Looking at the variances which are before the committee, the structure is big. I mean, the height is of course is a matter of concern and privacy. Knowing the fact that this property already sit on a higher grade, so that is making it even more prominent.
So sorry, Mohammed, I want to clarify, the size is not an issue, it's just the height. Okay, it's just,
Is the height.
it's elevated, so the size is fine.
Exactly, and its encroachment into the rear yard.
That's
is
correct.
Another,
So the height of the platforms, and it's coming closer to the property line.
closer to the rear yard, and all these things, the impact is it's not very positive, I can say. I'm feeling that it is a really privacy issue too. So keeping in view the impact, I can say the variances are not appropriate. So that's my comment.
Okay. Any other comment? If there's none, can I please, oh, Member McKay.
Yes, Madam Chair. Yes, I too am feeling that there's impact here. The grade or the ground of the subject site is higher than surrounding grounds, and when you deal with an elevated deck, there is that issue of overlook. So I don't feel that I could support the application.
I just want to draw your attention to community planning staff report. The planners have reviewed it as well, and they have no concerns, except that should the committee approve it, it'd be tied to the drawings. I just wanted to remind the committee members
Thank you.
of their
Good point. Yeah.
recommendation as well. Okay. All right, if there's no further comment or deliberation, can I please have a motion? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having said that, the impact which I stated earlier, because of that, I'm not feeling comfortable to say that these variances, both the variances are not appropriate. So in view of that, I move the motion for refusal of this application.
Okay, may I have a seconder, please? Member McKay?
Yes, Madam Chair, I second that motion to refuse the variance.
All in favor of this motion? Motion's carried and the application has been refused. Thank you very much for all of those who attended the morning session. This item brings us to the end of our agenda for the morning session. Our initial schedule for afternoon was to begin at 1:30. It is now 2 o'clock.
Through the chair, I'd recommend, if it's okay with the other panel members, we reconvene for the PM session at 2:30.
Works for me?
Okay.
2:30? Okay, all right.
Thank you.
For all of those who are listening, 2:30 is when we begin our afternoon session, and we will be dealing with items 19 through 27 for the rest of the day. We'll be back at 2:30. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the City of Toronto Scarborough District Committee of Adjustment hearing. Today is January 13, 2022. During the declared emergency in the City of Toronto, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, which is an online digital platform, and it's streamed onto the Toronto YouTube Planning channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and a provincial order that limits attendance at public gatherings. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, which is an online event that is being moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their computer, a phone, or a tablet app. All participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video. Any registered participants will be participating by audio only. We ask that you also mute your devices until you are called on to speak. Before we begin, we acknowledge the land we are meeting on is a traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaty signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. In accordance with Section 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to a property, permissions to alter or extend lawful non-conforming uses, and consents to sever properties to create new lots. Anyone in attendance today who wants to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on any application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and an email address because Committee of Adjustment and the TLAB, which is Toronto Local Appeal Body, will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, decisions may be appealed to the TLAB or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal, which is the OLT. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. In terms of the hearing procedure, I will call each item in the order that's listed on the agenda. In terms of making your submissions, where an application is uncontested, the agent or the applicant will proceed with their presentation if required. The committee may ask questions or take the matter into the committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or the agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you're reaching the 5 minutes. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters that have been outlined in the application. The applicant or the agent will proceed first and will make presentation to the committee of the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to the proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if it has been substantially revised to ensure that the revised application is accurate and that all those who are entitled to receive the notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or in opposition to an application will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant and agent has the opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. This is the afternoon session that was scheduled to begin at 1:30. We are dealing with items 19 through 27. Before we begin, are there any declarations of interest of staff or panel for items that are listed in this time slot, item 19 to 27? I see none. There are no declarations of interest on any of these items. Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, may I ask you if there are any requests for deferral for items 19 through 27?
Through the chair, there's one request for deferral. It's item 25. It's a deferral Item 25 is 14 Natal Avenue. The application needs to be deferred due to insufficient notice. It is recommended that the application be deferred to the February 10th Committee of Adjustment hearing, and notice will be issued at that time.
To the next one?
Correct, the February 10th hearing.
Okay, all right, perfect. Can I have Jonathan Biskowski, please? He's not there? Okay. So committee members, we have a request, well, it's a deferral because of insufficient notice on the application. And the recommendation is to defer it to the February 10th hearing to allow for proper notice to be circulated. Any questions about this request for deferral? I see none, all right. If there's none, can I please have a motion on this request for deferral by staff? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the motion for deferral of item 25, and this is due to insufficient public notice. The application will be reconsidered in the next hearing, which is scheduled on February 10th.
Thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Member McKay, please go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair, I second that motion to defer this matter to our February 10th hearing.
Thank you very much. All in favor of this motion? And the motion's carried and the application's been deferred to the February 10th hearing. Are there any further requests for deferral, Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer?
Through the chair, there are none.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we now begin with the first item listed on the agenda. This is session 2. First item for session 2 agenda is item 19. Item 19, 33 Scarcliff Gardens. Is John Kempfall with us, the applicant? All right. Hi, John.
Hello, can everyone hear me okay?
We can hear you well. Thank you very much. So, John, we have your application. We are vetting the agenda, and I noticed that there is a community planning staff report and a condition that it be tied to plans should the committee approve the application. Are you aware of that condition?
Yes?
And you have any questions, concerns on that one?
No?
And similarly, urban forestry has condition number 2. Do you have any questions, concerns with that one?
No.
Okay, all right. Members of the committee, we have the applicant John here. He's confirmed that he has no concerns with the recommended conditions. Should committee approve it? Any questions? I see none. All right. If there are no questions, concerns, and if you're prepared for a motion, can I please have a motion? Oh, Member Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the motion for approval of item number 19, and there is a condition of community planning recommendations as well as urban forestry condition number 2.
Thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Member McKay, please go ahead.
Yes, I second that motion to approve, Madam Chair, with those conditions.
With conditions. Okay, thank you. All in favor of this motion? And the motion's carried. Application for 33 Scarcliff Gardens has been approved, subject to conditions. Thank you. We move to the next item, item 20. Item 20 is 72 Warden Avenue. Can I please have Daniel Martin, please? Okay, Daniel, you're with us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel. Just hold on for a second. I don't see any conditions. Member of the committee, any questions or comments for Daniel? Member Said, please go ahead.
Daniel, out of curiosity, you are pleading this variance on the ground that the precedence is there and 75% residents in the street are having this front yard parking. This is one of the top reasons, the only reason you have given. Is any other rationale for that? I'm just curious about that beside this.
Well, I'm not sure if I understand the question fully, but we did look at the specific houses, specifically houses that do not have garages or carports. There's several homes on our street, 76 Warden, 132, 136, 138, and 140, that don't meet the first variance. And then the second variance, which you're alluding to, the 75% of the required front yard landscaping as soft landscaping. We also have several homes, 156 Warden, 160, 164, and 148, that do not meet this requirement. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Thank you. I think that information has been provided by you in writing, and I have gone through that. I was just getting it like, I wanted to hear from you, like, is there maybe any other reasons to that? But thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? See none, all right. If there are no further questions, can I please have a motion on this application? Member McKay, please go ahead.
Madam Chair, then I would move approval of this variance relating to front yard parking. I see no conditions, so I'll just move approval of this particular item 20.
Thank you. And may I have a seconder? Member Macaulay? Member Macaulay, you can unmute yourself?
Yes, I got two messages here, one muted and one non-muted. I second that motion. Hopefully you can hear.
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Thank you.
All right, so Member Macaulay seconds the motion. All in favor of this motion? And the motion's carried, then the application's been approved and there are no conditions. Thank you. Item 20.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Item 21, 353 Bellamy Road North. And do we have the applicant Kaushik Suthar? All right, thank you. Kaushik, you with us?
Yeah, good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee member. I'm here.
Thank you, Kaushik. Kaushik, before I proceed, are you aware of conditions of urban forestry and do you have any concerns or questions on that?
Yeah, I'm aware of it and I am fine with that. That's an already we applied for the urban forestry.
Okay, thank you very much. Members of the committee, any questions for Kaushik? I see none. All right. If there are no questions for Kaushik, can I please have a, a motion? Member Macaulay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I recommend, or I propose approval of this application. I note that there are a number of letters of support, which as a committee, we appreciate the applicant having gone out and done that. I don't see any conditions.
Thank you.
There are urban forestry condition, Madam Chair.
Yes, there are conditions for urban forestry. There's one.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sood. I will add that condition of urban forestry.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion on the floor to approve the application subject to condition of urban forestry. May I have a seconder, please? Member McKay, please go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair, I second that motion to approve subject to the urban forestry condition. Thank you.
All in favor of this motion? Application approved and the yes, the application's approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Item 22, we have 20 HAIG Avenue. And can we have Peter Jerusik, please? Thank you. Peter, you're with us?
Good afternoon, committee.
Good
Yes,
afternoon.
I can.
Okay, perfect, Peter. So just bear with me for a second. These are variances for the for two lots, part 1 and part 2, I believe. Okay. Members of the committee, any questions? And before I do, I just want to make sure if there's any conditions here. Yes, there are conditions. So, oh, it's a consent application as well. So it's a combined consent and associated minor variance. Okay. It's creation of two lots and associated minor variance. You're aware of all the conditions, Peter, from urban forestry and, of course, engineering services and community planning, Toronto Green Standards compliance?
Yes, we are.
Okay, and do you have any questions or comments on that?
No, fairly standard.
Okay. All right. Members of the committee, any questions for Peter? Member Macaulay?
Thank you. I'm sorry, am I muted or not here?
You're fine now, but you were muted earlier. Please go ahead.
Thank you. This is really a comment because we have a condition dealing with the green standard and bird friendly, and that's not something that we see on all of our applications. So I was pleased to see that Peter has agreed with that, and I just want to make that as a comment.
Okay, so that was a comment. Okay, perfect. Now, can I have a motion? Member McKay. You're muted, Member McKay.
Sorry, sorry, Madam Chair. No, I was just going to make a quick comment before before we have to say a motion on this, and just wanted to ask Peter then if he's aware that the engineering is recommending a road widening, and is that satisfactory?
Yes, we're fine with that.
Okay, thank you, Member McKay. Yes, Member Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a comments on that. Actually, I feel that the consent application and subsequently whatever the lots are being created, these are not good lots
No.
in terms of the frontage is concerned.
Okay, all right.
The
Okay, so
frontage.
we're vetting the agenda here, Mohammed. If you have concerns
Okay.
with the application and you want to hold it, we have to hold it and come back.
I am sorry, Madam Chair. Yeah, I would like to hold this application.
Okay, so Peter, you heard one of the committee members has some questions on the application, so we will hold on and come back to it.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, so item 22 is being held. Item 23, this is 5325 Lawrence Avenue East, and then item 24 is also related to that. So I would say we're going to hold both these items down because there's a list of speakers. So item 23 and item 24 is being held. Item 26, 149 Pitt Avenue. And do we have Leo Mastandria?
Yes, good afternoon, members of the committee.
Good afternoon, Leo. Thank you for joining us. Again, this is a consent application and there are associated minor variance applications with it. Just let me check. Yeah, so it's an amended application. There's conditions of urban forestry and conditions of engineering services. So Leo, are you aware of those conditions?
Yes, we are.
And you have no questions or concerns with that?
No, we don't.
Okay, all right. Yes, so we have all these conditions there. So, members of the committee, any questions for Leo? It's a consent application to sever into two properties, two lots. Okay. All right, so if there are no comments, can I please have a motion? Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
Through the
Madam
chair,
Chair,
through the chair, my apologies. There is one subsequent a modification that the applicant has submitted.
Yeah, so
modification.
since the revised variances?
Since the the applicant's revised variances are included in the agenda package. However, there was, I believe, there is an additional modification to. No, there's not. I'm sorry. My apologies. Okay, so it's this is fine.
This is
God,
variance
we're-
number
we're-
11 only, right? So the proposed fire shutter encroaches 0.7 into the south side yard setback and 0.30 meters from the south lot line.
Okay, my apologies.
North.
My apologies.
Okay, hang on. No. It's a little different here. On my notice, the revised notice says from the south side lot line. On yours, Ali, the one that you displayed, it said,
That's correct. That's correct. And Ali has it on the screen right now.
okay, so that's the correct one, right?
Yes.
There's two, okay, for each minor variance, okay. One's the north and one's the south. Okay, perfect, got it. Okay, so we have a clarification that there's a revision on both the minor variance applications for item number 11, which is all included in your packages in the agenda, so nothing different from what you've seen, but it was just a clarification that was sought.
And through the chair, what I would recommend is deal with the consent application separately,
Yeah, yeah.
and then the minor variance, you can deal with the minor variances together as amended.
Okay, sure, we'll do that. Okay, so the suggestion is to deal with the consent application first, and then deal with the two amended applications for minor variances. So, starting with the consent application, can I please have a motion? Remember, there are conditions. Motion on the consent application. Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I recommend approval of the consent application for 149 Pitt Avenue, subject to the standard conditions of engineering, and I think those are just the standard conditions. And so only for the consent application.
There are
Those
no,
are the
no,
only
there's just not standard condition, there is other conditions as well. So submission of a draft plan, a reference plan. So I would say just, if you could just leave it at conditions of engineering services, and that should be good. And urban forestry. Because it's,
anything else?
no, that's for now.
Okay. Let me rephrase that. I recommend approval of the consent application for 149 Pitt Avenue, subject to conditions of urban forestry, development engineering, and any other standard conditions that the staff have added to this application.
Okay, all right. May I have a seconder, please? Member McKay, please go ahead.
Yes, I'll second that motion to approve.
Right, all in favor of this motion? All opposed? Okay, so applications approved. Member Said opposed the motion. However, the application's approved. Okay, so now we go to the two associated minor variance applications, 26B and 26C, for each of the two lots. And remember, the variances have been amended. So, can I have a motion on the variances, the two applications together? So how does this work, Colin, now, Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer? Since Mohammed has opposed the motion, he can't vote on the minor variances, right?
I'm sorry?
So since Member Said opposed the consent application, so logically he shouldn't be voting on the minor variance applications, right?
Yeah, he will be voting on the minor variance application. He should vote on the minor variance.
If he has opposed the consent application.
I agree, he's entitled to be illogical. He can vote.
He couldn't vote?
Yes.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry. All right, so for the two lots that would potentially be created, these are the two applications for variances. Can I have a motion, please? Member Macaulay?
Before we have a motion, I would ask that Member Said indicate any concerns he has with the variances.
Thank you, my colleague. Yes, I did not vote for the consent application in the beginning because I have a difference of opinion as far as the lot size and the frontage which are created. Now coming towards the variances, yes, I think that the variance number 1, which talk about the frontage, which is 12-meter requirement, as against 7-meter is actually there, which is deficient. And I believe this variance is not a minor variance, as well as the lot coverage, the lot area, sorry, variance number 2 is also very deficient, and I believe this variance is not minor. So I am not supportive of variance number 1 and 2 for this variance application.
Okay, so that was your comment, Member Said. Now can I have a motion? Member Macaulay.
I'm going to proceed with the motion of approval for the variances, including the proposed frontage and lot area, and the revision to the side yard for the fire screen.
So just mention variance number 11, right? So as modified.
Right.
Okay, so variance number 11 as amended, and so basically all the variances.
Approval of the variance application as it has been amended previously.
Yeah, okay, all right. And it's for both the applications?
Both variances.
Okay, thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Member McKay, please go ahead.
Yes, I'll second that motion to approve both variance applications on Pitt Ave.
All right, thank you. All in favor of this motion? All opposed? Okay, Member Said opposes the application. The motion's carried and the two applications have been approved as amended. And the last item, Jody McDonald.
Shush. Hi there, I'm here.
Okay,
Present.
thank you, Jody. Just stay with me. I want to check with the resident who has signed up. Eric, can we please have Mads V online? She's not there? Okay. So we had a registered speaker by the name of Mads V, and that person has not signed in. So as we're reading the agenda, I'm going to ask the committee if they have any questions on this application at this time. I see none. All right. If there are no questions, oh, Member Said and Member McKay. Member Said?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to confirm that the applicant is aware of urban forestry condition, which is condition number 3.
Yes. Yes, we reviewed that. There are no, there is no contact with any trees. This does not touch anything, so. But we are, because we've had to remove trees in the past on the property, and we're well aware of what requires replacement and what has to be done. But in this particular case, there is no interference whatsoever.
Okay.
And may I just add, I'm so sorry. I'm thinking that the other person that didn't find their way in, I'm not familiar with that name, Mads V. So I have no idea if they perhaps listed the wrong application number or something, because that's not a name that's known to us at all. And if I could just beg your indulgence for half a moment and remind you that as an Indigenous community in the core of Southeast Scarborough, and given the pandemic, the surfacing of the children's graves and all that has preceded the last few years, it is just absolutely critical that we be able to hold our sacred fires. We have the burn permit from Toronto Fire Department. We just renewed it for the upcoming year. That's all looked after. And the variances, as you'll know from your material, 13 inches in height. That's the cupola that is going on top of the arbor. And it's to allow for the disbursement of any heat or smoke. I mean, that height extension is a safety feature.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about cutting down the shelter, and it was going to create more challenges for those with mobility issues to have the lower height. And the other variance we were seeking was our proximity to the property line. And we've talked to Maplewood. We've heard nothing back. It's property owned by Toronto District School Board. And it's underutilized space. It just abuts a parking lot. So there's no activities held there. There's no structures in the way. I just wanted to spell it all out and let you know that we are exceedingly anxious to move forward and allow our community to continue healing.
For sure. Thank you very much for that, Jody. It's certainly helpful. Okay, so members of the committee, if there are no further questions of Jody, can I please have a motion? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Jody, for the elaboration on your this development, which is I'm quite supportive of that. It's very good. I was looking at your application, and it's good you have taken all the safety measures already. You have taken the approval from the fire department as well. Madam Chair, the two variances mentioned there are quite minor. They are appropriate. I therefore move the motion for approval of this item number 27, and there are conditions of urban forestry.
Okay, Member Macaulay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to add to it. I am quite familiar with this part of Scarborough, probably down in that area every other day. So I'm aware of the community down there. And I'm glad to see that not only are they sensitive to the community concerns, but they're also following all the rules, including the fire department's rules. So I would be pleased to second Mr. Sood's motion.
Okay, perfect. All in favor of this motion? And the motion's carried, and the application has been approved subject to conditions of urban forestry. Thank you very much.
Jimmy Gwetch, thank you.
All right. So let me recap the items that were held in the second session. Item number 22, item 23, item 24, and that's it. Perfect. Okay. So let's go back to the agenda and start with item number 22. So can we have Peter Jerusik, please?
I am present.
Perfect. Peter, so do you want to present, or do you want to dive right into the questions?
I'd like to do a short presentation. I provided the committee a short presentation PDF. I was told it was provided to you guys.
It is on the agenda. We have that for sure.
Okay, so if the first page or the second page after the title page shows the layout of the area. 64% of the lots in that area are smaller lots of 25 feet, which is what we're proposing. So this is, in terms of character of the community, the lots here, the majority of them are 25-foot lots. I believe the original draft plan of subdivision did have all these 25-foot lots, and some people bought larger lots at that time. So this is a registered plan. So in terms of this lot here, we're looking to sever to keep consistent with the majority of the lots here of 64%. If you move to the, I guess the next image is just the survey, existing surveys. So the next one here, if you look, the way the lots were sold back in the history, some lots were 25 feet, some people were buying larger lots, but in this one was a larger lot purchased. If we go to the next, skip the letter from the surveyor, if we go to the next elevation, this is just the one I want to propose, that we had a surveyor go out and survey the existing house. And the height of the existing house is actually higher than what we're proposing. The existing house is at 139.59. Our new house, only at the top of the staircase kind of addition, will be 139.3. And the majority of the house will be at the lower flat roof part at 137.3. So we're actually lowering the house to what it is there currently. I believe this meets the 4 tests, and in terms of where the community's at, in terms of size of lots and type of housing, this, in my opinion, will fit well with the existing fabric of the street.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Members of the committee, I think Member Said, you had some questions. Please go ahead, Member Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Jurasik. Yeah, I see. Yeah, there are many there in the area. There are lots of this similar area, similar size. I mean, but I have my concerns for this severance application, because subsequently the 2 lots which are going to be created as a result of this severance, the frontage, both the frontage and lot area are is not appealing to me. They are not in good size. 7.62 meter is the frontage, which is deficient by more than 4 meter. The required, your one is like 7.62 meter. The required is 12 meter and the deficiency is 4.38 meter. Now, the lot area is even more concerning to me, and I am not feeling good about that. The lot area is deficient by 145 square meter, which is even less than 50%, which you are proposing over there. So, Madam Chair, I'm feeling that these two lots which are going to be created out of this severance, they are not in a good size and shape. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Member Said. Can I please have the lot fabric map on, Ali? So the fabric lot fabric map up, please. This one, that's correct. Can you zoom in? Okay, so Member Said, the green ones are the ones. I just want to make sure you've seen this carefully. The green ones are the ones that are 25 feet or less. Do you see there's like already that trend there, that change is there. I'm not talking about a precedent, but I'm trying to demonstrate that there's this evolving pattern of lot fabric that's already occurring. And what they're proposing is, it would be a green one.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with that, and I already agreed with Mr. Jurassic. I have seen these lot areas and the trend which is happening over here, the green color, which is very prominent, and they are less than or equal to 12 meter, right? 25 feet.
No,
something.
12 mean no, 7.62. 25 feet is
7.62 meter or. But
20.
but at the same time, there are many lots which are quite bigger than this, right? The pink color or the yellow colors are still there.
Okay.
But I personally don't feel that unless the other committee member have their own opinion.
Okay, no, fair enough. I just wanted to make sure that you had seen this and
Thank you very much,
sort of
Madam Chair.
distinction between
Thank
the
you.
colors. Okay, no, that's fine.
Sure.
Okay,
Thanks.
members of the committee, any more questions for Peter? Member Macaulay.
No, it's a comment on this. I guess the only other question I have for Peter is the building height. And he's asked the surveyor to show that the building height for this one is going to be as the same height as the existing one. But I noticed that you were looking for a fourth floor, a rooftop patio. Peter, you probably know that I don't really like these rooftop patios. However, I see that this is a property that it backs onto, I think it's the Toronto Hunt Club. And I'm willing to listen to a rationale for that rooftop patio.
Okay. Yes, you are correct. It's backing onto a green space here. I don't have, not to go onto the neighbors' properties, but I did not attend to the neighbors' properties, but a lot of the adjacent houses do have these type of patios on the third floor, even in the older dwellings, backing on with an overlook into the hunt club, into that green space area in the rear. So we're just keeping consistent with taking advantage in terms of the views in the back, and that will not interfere with an overlook into neighbors' properties at the back. And we've also discussed with the client, if the neighbors have an issue regarding this, then we can always put privacy screens at the side. Now, we have had extensive conversations with the neighboring property owners, and as evident with the lack of opposition to this from neighbors, our conversation with the neighbors have been very fruitful in terms of support for this, or at least least at this point, no opposition has been submitted. So they have been very receptive to our discussions with them in the neighborhood. And we did not put the deck in the front to overlook it. We're just taking advantage of the natural green space area in the back. Also, I want to just draw attention because Mr. Saeed also made a comment regarding the square footages. This is an area that doesn't have the quote unquote F qualifier. So on this street of HAIG, there's just a blanket statement that says, if there's no F, the lot is 12 meters. But the adjacent street and the areas all have 9 meters, but the majority of lots are still 7.6. So I know dealing with the zoning bylaw for the entire city of Toronto is sometimes difficult because you have these unique cases. But the only reason why this street itself has this 12 meters is because it's absent of actually specifying a lot area. And the bylaw speaks that if there's no specific lot width of frontage, then assume it to be 12 meters. So that's kind of the gray area we're working on here. So I'm trying to address both comments from the previous two discussions.
Okay, thank you, Peter, for that. Any more questions or comments for Peter? Member Said, and then Member McKay.
Sorry. Mr. Jurasik, could you also comment on variance number 3, which is the coverage? I'm just trying, about the coverage.
Sure, let me just, let me just open up the zoning notice here again. I shut it down for a second. So the coverage you're requesting is 41.93%, where the requirement is 33%. Due to the fact that in these areas the lots are narrower and of similar square footages, we did look at where the backyards and the front yards are of most houses, and we've determined that the majority of the houses are very similar in terms of square foot of coverage. In this area, 41.93 is not out of the norm. 33% is just a blanket kind of throughout all of pretty much Toronto as a coverage. Yet the existing fabric, if you look at houses on 20, thank you for bringing that up, houses to the north of us, 22, 30, 32, 36, they have small backyards, even 40 to 42. They have very small backyards, tighter front yards, and we are actually pretty much in line, if not, we're complying with the majority of that. So those properties as well occupy, in some of the cases, over 50% too. So we're in line with the current fabric and the current character of the community in terms of types of housing styles.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Member McKay, you had a question?
Yes, Peter, I just wanted to draw your attention to the community planning report. So there are sort of some natural heritage issues which are not so common. Asking that windows be bird friendly, and then a provision about lights and plantings. Is your client on side with those matters?
They are. They've actually contacted their window company to see how some of these can be dealt with, and the window company has indicated that they've dealt with these in the past, and it can accommodate the situation here as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarification. All right, I think we had a good discussion, and before we go into committee, Peter, any closing remarks?
We just to reiterate that this development is more in line with the predominant form of housing in the area. We are sensitive to what's happening in the back, and request state that this does meet the 4 tests of the Planning Act, and looking at the official plan in terms of looking at the community and making development consistent with what's happening in the community. I believe this meets the intentions of the official plan as well, and as a fact, the 4 tests.
Thank you very much. Ellie, can we have the screen down, please? Thank you. Okay, so members of the committee, we take the matter into committee now. If there are no further comments, can I please have a motion then? Member Macaulay?
Madam Chair, I'm prepared to put forth a motion for the consent application. We can vote on that first and then deal with the variances.
Sure.
Recommend approval of the consent application, subject to the conditions of engineering, the urban forestry condition, and the condition of community planning dealing with the dark sky compliant and bird-friendly issues.
Okay, thank you. And may I have a seconder, please? Member McKay, please go ahead.
Yes, I'll second that motion to approve the consent with the conditions outlined by Member Macaulay.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? And the motion carries and the application for the consent has been approved. Now, can I have motions on the two minor variance applications? Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
Thank you. I believe the variance applications are identical. Yes, as far as I can see, the variance applications are identical. So I recommend approval of the variance applications. They are minor, they are appropriate, they fit into the character of HAIG Avenue and are I certainly would recommend them for approval.
Okay, thank you. And can I have a seconder, please? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I second the motion for approval of variance application A0235/21SC and A0235/21SC.
You seconded the motion. All in favor of this motion? Thank you. The motion's been carried and the application's approved. And
Thank you very
Colin?
much for your time.
Thank you. Yes, Colin?
Through the chair, before we proceed to the last two items, items 23 and 24, it is now time again to switch YouTube streams. So for our viewing audience, we will need to switch to YouTube streams PM2. So if we can have 2-minute recess to be able to switch streams. Thank you.